So we are live. This is going to be another session. Welcome, Matt Bynum and Blaine McLaughlin. All right. We got a pair of investors here who buy apartments, who are both dentists.
Yep.
And they have their own, talk show. So we're super excited, have you guys, meet you guys. We're here at a multifamily conference, with a bunch of successful operators and people who own thousands of units who've raised millions of dollars of capital.
Yeah.
So super excited. So, why don't you guys talk, a little bit about yourself, background, where you come from, and then, why apartments? We'll start with Blaine. Yeah.
Hey, so we went to dental school together back in the day, graduated from the University of Iowa in 1995. And so we've been, buddies since then, and, just been working on our practice, and Matt's been one of my mentors in the dental practice. He's made me do a lot of things that I didn't want to do. Brought me out of the comfort zone, bro, and made my dental office a lot better. And so here we are a few years ago, and we're looking towards our retirement, going, when do you think you might retire, and what do you got planned before then? And we started looking at my 401k, right? Because as dentists, we're taught all about how to fix teeth and take care of people, but no one teaches us jack squat about money. We don't know nothing. And so we're doing what we're supposed to do, a 401k, and I'm like, God, there isn't that much in there. I don't know if I'm going to retire, Matt, because there's not enough money in here to live the life I want to live. And so I started doing some calculations, and I go back and I'm like, I've put them in about so much a year for 25 years, and I've got this calculator out, and I'm putting on these numbers. And I realized that over the last 25 years, I gotten a 3% return.
On your 401k?
3%
Wow. And then inflation is what?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I'm thinking, this is not working, man. This is not working. And he kind of came to the same realization. We're talking about this, and we're like, we got to do something different, because this retirement plan crap isn't working for us. So I've dabbled in multifamily real estate for years. Just in local areas, doing some things. Some worked okay, some didn't work. And I'm like, I just don't have time for that. And so I focused on the dental practice until now. And now it's like, all right, we're full in. We're full in on this real estate thing, and we're going to work together. And
you came to the realization that who's got your money?
Who's got your money? You sound like him too. Yeah, there you go.
I've been around him enough. I mean,
Uncle G.
Uncle G.
Uncle G.
Uncle G, what's up? You better be listening. So, I think Blaine hit the nail on the head with the little mini explanation of what we are. So we graduate dental school, and just like, good dentists do when they graduate, we, you start making money. And we're in a profession, we're very fortunate and blessed that I can go anywhere and make money. If I lost everything today, I could still go make money. That's just the way that it works. But what do you do with the money? So we did what good dentists do, and we hired, somebody that would take care of our money, a financial advisor. And we started investing in our 401k, our retirement. You start this right away. You got to do that. And you also got to go into insurance. You got to have all your insurance covered, in case you're malpractice. You got to, if you hurt your hand, you've got to have disability insurance. So we pour a lot of money into, I won't say it's trivial things, but, it's stuff that we got to have. But at the same time, I'm thinking at the end of my career, like, I never used that shit anywhere. Can I say shit?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So I didn't use that shit anywhere. So why? How much money have I paid my entire career into this stuff and not have anything to show for it? So, like Blaine said, I was just at GC's GrowthCon. If you guys get a chance to go.
I was supposed to go.
So I was listening to these two guys. They're the Nigerian brothers. They got a podcast, and they do some really cool stuff with algorithms and tracking like the elite. And when the elite make a move, like Hillary Clinton or Pelosi, if they make a move in the market, it triggers them right away. And they tell all their people, they rush to see what it is. Mm-hmm. And if they could jump on the deal and catch the tailwind, because they're getting insider information.
100%.
Shocker.
So they're doing this. So they're doing that. But they were up on the stage and they're talking about, they did a study on 401k and retirement. And Blaine hit it exactly. He said, for the last 10 years, we took this survey. Over the last 10 years, it was 39% return, or 3.9% a year.
Oh, wow.
And I started thinking, I'm like, shit, that's Blaine.
Right there, bro.
That's Blaine.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing because I'm thinking I'm not too far behind that. You know what I mean? As we finish our careers, we've been doing dentistry 29 years, so that's a long time. we've amassed, a fair amount of wealth, I'd say, in the profession. We conduct our practices in the top 5% in the country.
Wow.
So we have very elite type practices, my practice does about $4 million a year. I'm a sole dentist. I have an associate that just started with me a little over a year ago. So I'm teaching her at the same time as she's starting to now plug into the practice a little bit. But, that's one of the things that I'm adapting to. At the same time, I'm getting to that point where, like we call our podcast is the Happy Trails podcast.
Happy Trails.
Happy Trails because we're about to ride off into the sunset of our careers. We're finishing up dentistry and we're going to ride off into the sunset. And what are we riding off into the sunset with? Because the money just seems like it's not there.
Yeah.
We can't trust the market. I mean, look at how many crashes have been in the last, just count the last 12 years, okay? Just if you count that alone, how much money have we lost? And I don't think my financial guy called me, before the crash said, hey, go to cash. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee he did.
Yeah.
But he didn't call me and say go to cash. I also noticed from my financial guys, they're on vacation quite a bit. They win these trips. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to anybody that's doing any kind of investing, but they go on these trips 2 or 3 weeks at a time, take their family. Well, they win these trips because the funds are fronting the trips. Because if they can put you into their fund, then it helps their business grow and they can utilize the money. It's kind of like a whole scam.
Pyramid scheme.
It's kind of like that. Uncle G would tell you you've fallen into the middle class trap. We've learned this. Dentistry used to be one of those professions that you thought you were in the top tier of the echelon of money. That's not true, guys. I mean, to be a dentist anymore, it used to be, man, you're rich if you're a dentist. Well, that's bullshit today. I know dentists that are barely making it, man. They're coming out of school with $800,000-$900,000 in debt, and you got to start a practice. I mean, how do you run that game? You know what I mean? So that's just not the way it is. Yeah, I would say dentistry is more like an upper middle class situation now today, and the only way that you're going to get ahead in today's market is to invest. Easiest way to invest is the number one thing that people will talk about across the board in any profession, in any podcast, in any talk show. Number one, invest in yourself. Right?
100%.
100%.
The real estate in between your ears.
Yeah.
Right? That's number one. Number two is real estate.
100%.
Real estate. Ask anyone. Listen to anyone. They all do the same thing. I don't care if you come from government, if you come from profession, if you come from medicine, it doesn't matter. Across the board, real estate. So why are we here?
Real estate.
Putting yourself in the right room.
That's amazing. So you said you were already you dabbled in multifamily at some point, and then you just sold and didn't go back.
Robert Kiyosaki books. I read those right out of dental school.
Nice.
And just like, oh my God, this sounds like a pretty good deal. And so I got hooked up with a local guy from my hometown. And he would put together some JV groups or, like 5 or 8 people would get together and throw in 30, 40, 50,000 and buy a 10-plex or 12-plex.
Okay.
And then he'd manage that or he'd have somebody manage it, And then, we'd kind of flow with it. We were kind of LPs at the time. So just limited partners or passive investors. And, the cash flow never seemed to come because there was just somebody moved out and we had to renovate their location, or the carpet needed to be replaced, or we had this damage and the boiler had to go out and we had to replace that. And so it was pretty sporadic. And so I got involved in that. I got involved in a commercial deal which had 5 renters in it. One of the tenants was like half the building and they left. Okay. So then what happens to the cash flow on that thing? Not so good. Yeah. So
That's why they say go bigger, right? That's why they say go bigger.
Yeah. And so that didn't go so well. And so those things happen, and then I'm like, I'm just going to focus on my dental practice because that's what I do, man. And so I've always had real estate in the back of my mind. And again, when I heard this stuff from the Sumrock Group, which is where we are today, I was like, oh, that's why that didn't work. And I bet if he had done this differently, that would have been better. And and so I'm starting going, now I know how to make things successful versus, just following this guy. And he's a great guy and that's what he does. And he's still very successful. I just got in on a couple deals that, weren't so good. Yeah. But now I have realized what could have been done to make them better. And it was so eye-opening going, we can freaking do this, Matt.
Yeah.
We can do this.
And I'm sure you guys have a network, of people to, pull the money from.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great things about being in a network of professionals. I mean, dentistry, chiropractors, things like that. It's, again, we're blessed. We make money. What do we do with the money?
Yeah.
That's most people just don't know what to do with it. My background's a little different. We started dentistry and, my focus has always been on the practice, man. It's just been on the practice. But, along with that comes commercial property that I'm buying for my practice. So
there you go.
I bought the commercial property that my practice currently sits on. I bought the property behind me to put another practice if I wanted to. We bought a property up the road that we now house an orthodontist in. So the problem with dealing with your own money, and again, I mean, if you're down with OPP, that's, we go old school. You got to understand, you got to understand what OPP is, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're doing your own thing, it's your responsibility to handle that money.
Yep.
So when you want to go do something, you go to the bank and say, hey, I'd like to borrow some money so I could do this thing with the money. Well, guess who's on the hook for the money? It's you. Never understood the concept of OPP until I got exposed to it through Sunrock and through Cardone. And those guys really just opened my eyes to the possibility that you don't even have to have skin in the game necessarily to be in the game.
Yep.
But like Sunrock just said at lunch, he said, I would be very leery of jumping in a deal with anybody if they didn't have skin in the game.
100%.
If you don't have,
I made that mistake.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even cross my mind. Like, what?
And it's an easy mistake, right?
Yeah, very easy. I mean, it was easy because they were going to bring a bunch of capital and they were going to help us with the asset management and they were going to bring some experience, but no money.
Yeah. Always.
So I wouldn't do that again.
No.
Yeah.
If you don't have skin in the game, I mean, again, if you take this to dentistry, we've done this where we've given away dentistry, as we're going to use this as a marketing tool. We'll just help this person out. It'll come back to us in spades. If they have no skin in the game, dude, they don't care about whatever you've done.
Mm-mm.
It's
There's
just
no risk.
You're like, hey, peace. Thanks, guys, for the smile. It's $40,000. Hey, rock on. We're out. Just gone.
And then if you're on the loan,
yeah.
If you're on the loan and they don't have any skin in the game, you're the one on the hook.
You got it.
You
got it.
And that's why I like to have people on the loan with me.
So going back to your inference is just simply that when we have exposure to other professionals, we have access to people that have money, and those people that have money are looking for ways to spend it. Well,
because they haven't learned how to manage money either, right?
No,
and so physicians and chiropractors and eye doctors and stuff like that all make a good living. But again, they're in our boat too. They're taught how to take care of people, and
we're terrible. We're terrible.
And there's really no time. I mean, you're always focused. You're always trying to learn more. And it's the beauty of healthcare. There's always work because there's always something new. There's always new practice.
Right.
And you have to dedicate hours to learn that so you can perform it. But what are the hours that you're going to spend learning real estate? And that's where you start attending events. You start reading the books. But you got to realize that you have to start investing. So what would be something that you guys would give a person advice to, where would you start? Where would you tell them to start?
Maybe another dentist, other healthcare professionals that were in the position that you are in, talk about what you would tell them now, knowing what you know, and, kind of what kind of advice would you give someone in your position that, maybe a few years ago?
Go ahead, because I'll just talk for hours.
Well, I mean, you got to get involved in the game. And again, educating yourself and investing in yourself is number one. And so you either need to learn about this stuff as I have done, and I've taken that, to heart in the last few years. I've studied a lot, and I find it fascinating. Numbers, I geek out on numbers too. And so I've learned enough to know how this goes on. So either learn if you have time and you're interested in it, learn it yourself. But a lot of people aren't interested. They're like, I get it. I get that the market isn't maybe where I need to be, but I don't want to learn that stuff. You got to align yourself with people who are like you, who think like you, who you can trust. And we talk a lot about, Matt and I talk a lot about on our podcast, you got to know, like, and trust the people you're investing in. And you just pointed to that the guys that didn't have skin in the game that you invested with you, man. Yep. You got to know, like, and trust these people. And so that's one of the reasons that we started doing our podcast. It's like, hey, we want people to get to know us. So when they want to invest, they can go, you know what? I like your style. I like you guys. You guys are real. You just sit there and shoot the shit and talk. And
hey, you guys are seriously playful.
You're seriously playful.
Yeah, it's not all business.
Or you're playfully serious. Which one? I don't know.
Depends on the day, maybe. And so you gotta take the steps, right? And you got to make something happen and take the steps to get going initially. And it's the first step that's always the scariest. And it's going to be scary a little bit. But, again, align yourself with somebody like you guys or us that has some experience and is knowledgeable in this. you're gonna make some waves and take the right step in the right direction.
So you hit on one thing that's really pertinent, and that's there's people that don't want to learn this crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to put the time because they're so focused on their profession. They're so focused on
and
their
that's
family.
why Matt is stays with me, because
I
I learn it all and tell him what the hell's going on.
I've learned. I delegate. Man.
Hey,
There you go.
This is boom, boom,
That's
boom.
good. Leverage.
That's right. You got to leverage
Yeah.
people, right? So, but there's people that don't want to learn any of it. They don't want to invest time because they don't want to take away from the family, whatever the case, because we've all been in certain situations like that. But the key is, if that's going to be the case, you still have money, and you still have to put your money somewhere. Of
course.
So why not become a passive investor in something that makes sense? Well, as long as you're bringing a deal to somebody that makes sense, well, that makes sense to put money away. I didn't know that you could take money and get double your money back in a 3-year period, right? Because in the market you're getting shit. You know what I mean? If somebody offered you 15% in the market guaranteed in 3 to 5 years, you would jump all over that.
Quick.
Because there's nobody doing anything close to that. But in apartments and in other real estate, you can do that.
Sure.
I've even recently learned this in some of the avenues that we're expanding in, be it land development or be it other avenues, that the money moves even quicker. It's faster money. It's more money. It's higher percentage.
Yep.
Is there more risk?
More risk,
Possibly.
yeah.
But, risk reward kind of thing. So earlier on, when we started dentistry, we started in practice and doing all the different stuff. Sometime in the process, my wife and I and some friends that we graduated dental school with at the time, we just decided that, hey, let's take a chance on something, right? So we opened up these coffee bars in Greenville, South Carolina. Well, go perfect time to open them, 2008.
2008.
And when the market crashes and, milk went from $2 a gallon to $8.50 a gallon. And believe it or
You
not,
couldn't charge $30 for a coffee either.
well, and that's the thing, though. You know what I mean? So now your coffee is either going to be $10, $12 in Greenville, South Carolina, or it's going to be, I'm going to come through there once a week now instead of 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? So everything just started to implode. The bleeding was, we were hemorrhaging. I'm just tourniquet here, tourniquet there, trying to run a dental practice, trying to run these 5 coffee bars that we opened up. Our partners and friends there in Oregon, and then on the blue, we get a letter from our supposed friends that says, hey, we're claiming bankruptcy. We never got a call. They never told us. And the attorney says, you can't call and talk to these people about any of their business. And I'm like, you gotta fucking be kidding me. Oh, shit. So now I'm doing anything we can to scramble, because now it's just my wife and I. 5 locations on the hook, losing, just bleeding out everywhere. Lost $1.5 million on the deal. Okay? So losing $1.5 million when you're, I don't know, how old was I then? 40, 42. That's a hit.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
That's a hit. And then you start thinking, man, there's no way to recover. The great thing is that we got a great relationship with our lending institution, our bank, and they just put the money elsewhere. They put it here, so our house that would have been paid off wasn't paid off. Our lake house that we had wasn't paid off. So now we just keep paying our payments, never felt the bump, right? So now here we are. We're 55, 56 years old. We're coming to the end. We're finally about to pay off things because it's taken that much longer. And now we're like, now what? Where's our money? So do we want to take more chance and risk to throw it in a venture like a coffee bar? I don't think so. And that's where you were saying stay in your lane. Earlier Blaine said just do dentistry. That's his thing. Same thing. I have restaurateur friends. I got other friends. They're like, why do you want to do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm bored because, it's just money, right? And if you see money as just an avenue, you can make more of it or less of it, then it doesn't mean as much to you. The concept and the principle of money for me isn't the same as it is for my wife. My wife wants the security, right? She's like concerned, but my wife was also the one asking questions in the lunch today. So she's starting to see
the
some
importance
of the things that Blaine and I have been playing with in the last couple of years.
And sometimes it takes them hearing it from somebody else to open their eyes to like, hey, you know what, this is the right thing to do. Yeah, you told her 1,000 billion times, but one person tells you the same thing. Oh, you know what? That's true.
I just said, just listen to the fucking podcast. But she won't. Like, how dare she's never going to listen to our podcast. But, the whole point of, like Blaine said, we make the podcast. The podcast is for people like you, people like your friends, people that are our friends that don't know anything about this kind of thing. We're teaching them as we learn it. We're not going to tell you we're experts in this game because we're not. We've made a bunch of mistakes in our lives, but we've done some really cool things along the way as well. We're vested properly in some of the apartment game now. We're LPs and I don't know, probably six different avenues that are
Nice.
2 or 3 that are giving dividend returns every quarter. One of the coolest dividends that I didn't even think would ever happen is RV parks.
RV parks.
Yeah.
Dude, they're freaking killing it right now. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
So we met those people at Sunrock. I mean, the craziest thing, met him at Sumrock, and that's where that started. At the same time, we've got I'm a co-GP in a 150 unit complex in San Antonio.
Oh,
and
nice.
Like a lot of other properties out there, they're not like performing right now. The rates have gone through the roof. They're trying to how do you finagle through that and get through the entire process. But we're only in it about 2 years. So by the time all this shakes out here in about a year and a half, it's going to be prime time, man. It's just going to be
market's going to start
just
turning.
wait.
Yeah, the market's going to turn. We'll be cashed out, and then it will be exactly like what we've learned in Sumrock, where we're pulling 18% on our money or 2 times. You know,
Correct.
If I could 2x my investment on that, that's awesome. Then we could take that money and flush it somewhere else immediately, where now we've got a little bit better leverage.
Sure.
So,
And I think right now it's not even 2x if you're buying right now and waiting. I think he was mentioning 2.87, right? 2.87x.
Yeah.
So it's not even 2x right now if you buy the right deal in the right location with the right team, the right debt. You know, I think all of that and that's why I like apartments, because you can form a team that you trust, know, respect, and you get good debt and you buy now. You know, I think the chances of you making more than a 2x is going to be very high.
I agree.
And so a lot of people are standing on the sidelines, with pencils down.
It's a fire sale right now.
Sure.
You know, people their terms are coming due. They haven't made their money. They got to get out.
They have to sell.
They have to get out.
Correct.
So those are the things that are coming up here in the next year and a half.
Correct.
You're gonna see this game explode. And you guys are you're jumping in at the right time to be on top of that.
100%. One thing too right now that we're working on is relationships with the lenders, because the lenders, you know, from what I'm hearing, is the lenders won't really foreclose on the property and get it back without having someone ready to purchase it.
Yeah, they don't want it.
Yeah, they don't want it.
No idea.
And they're not going to foreclose on it.
What are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
Correct. And so I think right now is a good time to start building those relationships with these lenders, because they're going to have to foreclose on some of these deals. And so letting them know you're ready, letting them know you're liquid, letting them know you're backed by, you know, private equity or institutional capital, or, you know, even just your dentist network, you know, and they're going to ask for track record and all that stuff. And I think if we're in front of the lenders, we're going to come across some really good opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're super excited about that.
Yeah.
And you know, y'all mentioned partnering with the right people, know, trust, respect. You know, I think that's important. So talk more about, you know, what you look for in a partner, you know, because you guys I'm assuming don't want to do all the work, right? I mean, you know, be there, you know, walk-in units and...
Did I mention I leverage people? That's what I do.
Yeah. So what do you look for in a partner, you know, and you know, what do you expect from them?
Blaine,
Well, I
don't say cute butt.
Stop. I look for integrity, man.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because when we first came to the Sumrock event a couple of years ago, they talked a lot about, you know, like and trust people and da-da-da. And I'm meeting all these people, and there's some that are really nice and friendly. And then you kind of step back and you get to see some of the deals they're in, and you're like, why did they do that? That's not a cool move, you know, or something like that. And so to me, you know, you're so excited and you want to get started right away. And you're like, hey, let's go GP this deal tomorrow, you know, and you're just ready to go. And I'm glad that I've kind of stepped back and built relationships over the last 2 years with these people to understand the integrity, their intentions, you know, what are they really trying to work for? And, you know, obviously we're in it for the financial gains. But the other cool thing, and Matt and I talk about this too, is the fact that we get to help these working class people build a home, right? And there's a community. There, you know, you got 150 units, and you build this community, and they have a share a pool, and they grill together, and you have parties and whatever for them. And that's just really, really cool because, you know, family time is important to, I think, most of us, in building a community and having your friends around. And you can help do that for these people instead of, you know, having just one isolated, I don't know anybody, I don't want to talk to anybody near me. They get to become friends.
Correct.
And I think that's important. And that is super cool. But so we look for, I look for, that integrity, what their true intentions are. If they're there to help people, because if you help enough people, you're going to get what you want.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And the affordability gap for people being able to afford houses is expanding.
It's huge.
You know, we learned that, you know, over the weekend. And what was it? It was like $1,400, you know, and it's still growing. And so people are having to stay in these apartments. And I mean, we own C's, we own B's, and there's different, you know, types of people, and they expect different things. And if we're able to provide these amenities and the security and, lighting, and, we even do like Easter egg hunts, we do, backpacks, we did school supplies. So we build community with these people because, again, they don't have the option to go buy a house. So you got to be able to just provide them with anything you can. And I've even heard of programs where, they help build their credit, they help, build financial education. And, there's different programs out there to implement in your apartment communities to have that community. Right.
Yeah,
and so I think it's important to partner with people who are interested in that stuff. And there's a lot of those people here.
And I think that on top of that is the difference between the LP, the limited partner, and the general partner. The LP is really, when you put your money in and you're expecting return, it's about money.
Yeah.
I think anybody that goes in as an LP, you're not really interested in what's the community doing.
Correct.
I'm interested in turning my money over so I can double it, triple it, whatever the hell it is, because I got my money placed. When you jump into a GP type position, it's a little bit different because you become a little bit altruistic, where you do want to help the community, and that's where core values come into place. Integrity is one of the biggest core values that I would say most people hold, not everybody, most people hold, if you have a good heart and you're a good person. But having like-minded people around you that want to do that and help others grow, because, ultimately when you help others is when you're going to grow as well.
Right.
So God blesses those that bless other people, right? So, and that's really important. It's an aspect of our doing that is exactly in alignment with what I see others doing that are successful. So, why do I want to reinvent the wheel? I don't. All I want to do is just kind of emulate what the successful are doing and put the little spin on it so it looks like me, it tastes like me, it smells like me, and do it that.
Maybe not smell.
That's just it. Yeah.
We'll leave that one out.
Yeah. Cut that out.
We'll chop it up.
Careful how you chop that up. But I mean, that's really important because I think we all have avenues of how we deal with people, and like Blaine said, it's you get involved in a community, it's different. Like you go and see the apartment complex that you just purchased. And you walk the property with your GPs, and you walk around and you're like, you see all these little things. Are you going to fix all those little things? And then you see the people come out of the doors. They want to greet you. They want to meet you. And you're going to beautify the area. You're going to create a park or a playground for the kids to play. Man, you have an effect on a community. And that ripple effect is huge.
Correct.
And those are the things that I don't think a lot of people consider when they're talking about getting involved in any kind of real estate, especially multifamily.
Yeah. I think too, you got to also, right now, challenging times. There's a lot of news about people facing challenges in the industry. We're facing a couple. We'll be getting out, but I think you also got to ask your potential partners and your future partners, when things go wrong, are you going to be there with us? Are you going to be walking the property? Are you willing to forfeit fees? Are you willing to, because it's not always going to be fine and dandy. And I think too, some people in the beginning, they're super excited. I want to be a GP and let's do this. They buy the deal, they're touring the deal the first month, they're walking in the second month, fourth month, they're probably not on the calls, maybe seventh month, they're just not really interested anymore. Yeah. It's sweat. You're in the heat, you have to walk units, you have to, deal with, challenges the manager's facing. The managers are going to be asking, hey, what do you want me to do? Right. They don't know it all. They don't know your business plan the way you do. And so I know there's always a lead GP, but still, I like partnering with people that are also going to help, and also come through. And I think, we have some GPs out of state, out of country, and they do come and they walk the property with us. And I like that.
I'm assuming for the most part, you're the asset manager.
Yeah, we're the lead.
Yeah. So, that's boots on the ground is tough, because
correct.
They're coming to you for answers.
Correct.
I live in South Carolina. We're vested in Texas for most of our properties, right? Some in Louisiana. But at the same time, I've been on the property at least 3 times. I take time to fly into San Antonio and check it out. It's important to me.
Sure.
But that's who I am as a person. That's who Blaine is as a person.
And your investors probably appreciate that as well, right?
They want reports, you know what I mean? So like I have my friends that when you go to a friend, you say, hey, I got this property. I'm no pressure whatsoever. What's the buy-in? It's $100,000. $100,000 is not chump change, man. I don't care who you are. Yep. So I have friends that have put money in, just like Blaine, and they're looking at every month. Hey, how's our investment doing? last thing you want to say is, "Gosh, shitty, man. We're gonna lose. We're gonna
or
lose."
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
So you've got to be able to report to these people, and it's important for you to be on top of it. That's your fiduciary responsibility.
Correct.
As the person that brought them on. You know what I mean?
Correct.
But just as a good human, you want to be that type of person anyway. So.
Yeah, Brad was just talking at lunch. Our mentor Brad, he said there's a deal that he was involved in, and it's been quite a few years, 8 or 9 years, and it's still going. And they're trying to change some things, and they can't even find the GPs.
Yeah.
A couple of the GPs, they don't even know where they live. They haven't contacted them in years.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do we run this thing? Half of our leadership team isn't here, so.
That's tough.
Well, I think that's because the OM that they wrote, they had to have sign off on some of the changes they were going to make, and they can't find these people because it's from 2015.
So it's important to review your operating agreement, right? I mean, and especially if you're, review the operating agreement. I mean, ask the attorney, make sure. I mean, partnerships are so important, and I think there is some. I know really good operators, really good asset managers that they all work as a team. One's doing the capex, one's working with the manager. If the manager leaves, they come and help find a new one. It's very active, and a GP role is not passive, and it's so important who you partner with because you're marrying them.
Yes.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
At least.
Minimum.
And you want to make sure. I like the idea of I don't know if y'all have heard it, but would you have a beer with them at an airport?
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, would you be okay with sitting, waiting, on a layover with your potential GP partner? If it's just someone that you're just like, oh my God, I can't stand this person. I can't. Don't partner with them.
Yeah, why would
there's going to be more issues.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, why would you get involved at all? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
100%.
Yeah.
So we own some deals in San Antonio as well.
Yeah.
It's a very good market and it's up and coming. So maybe you tell us about that later after this session.
Yeah,
and,
we can certainly talk about it another time.
For sure.
How's yours performing?
It's good. Yeah, there's one deal we got bridged at 2 years ago.
Okay.
C class. So we gave 1 or 2 distributions in 2 years. So it's been paused for the asset, right? I mean, I'm in the best interest of the investor's money, and I have to do what's
the rates shit the bed, man. I mean, what do you want?
Correct.
You pulled your money, you throw it into capex. You probably don't have reserves on the thing.
Correct.
We even had reserves, but we're tapping our reserves to make sure all this capex goes.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, I've had to go to the property and lease units. I've had to go to the property and just be there in the office while the manager's tending to a plumbing leak or
good for you.
So I like being in the trenches.
Yeah.
I think that's made me a very good investor as well. I'm all around well-rounded, and I like the ability to go. We're trying to go now institutional capital, bigger private equity firms, and they like that. We operate the building. We're the lead managers. We sign on the loan. We raise money. We do a little bit of everything vertically. So they like that, and that makes me more of a better investor, right? And so that deal, unfortunately, we're doing a capital call, and it's not that much. It's $1 million, and so we're gonna have to go into a long-term fixed debt and save the deal. And the other deal we bought, he's actually a partner with us on it. We bought, it was 200 units down South San Antonio, and it's a 1986 build. 200 units. We're 94% occupied, 92 economic. So it's doing really well.
Strong.
Yeah, very strong amenity, and very good amenities. Large property, gated, and so we're still going through the capex, renovating the property, and I still go out there. He recently randomly popped up. He's a GP on the deal, so I tell him his responsibilities, and it's not just all right. We buy the deal and that's it, right? Walk the units. And I think it's also an opportunity to go and post on social media. Like, what are you doing? Right. I mean, that's how we've had people reach out to us, say, hey, like, I've seen what you're doing for 2 years. I'm ready to go now. Yeah. And if you don't post anything, if you don't, show people you're in the trenches, people like to see that stuff first. I mean, first and foremost.
Is that all you guys do is your real estate? Is that strictly?
Yeah, 100% full time. I've been doing it for 10 years.
So, and that's awesome. So the challenge for us is we have jobs.
Yeah.
Correct. We got W-2 dental practices that run. So now as we transition and do our thing, we have to prove and provide that we are professional real estaters, right? So So we were talking about it yesterday on the phone.
That's why I got to get a picture here.
There you go. There you go. Turn it around.
Well, we got cameras.
There you go.
I can say, hey.
But I mean, you got to log this
podcast.
stuff. You got to prove this stuff. You know? So for the first year that we were involved in this, there was no way that we could capture that, right? I see patients 3 days a week in my practice, 21 hours a week. I've been doing that for about 15, 16 years. You know,
Ain't nothing.
Yeah, so I'm bragging. You know, I've only do 3 days, but then you know I got stuff I got to work on the practice hours as well. But man, I will be able to show this year that my time has been and is being spent on real estate.
There you go.
Versus my dental practice, because my dental practice is 24, 25 hours a week. Man, I'm at least 30, 35 hours a week doing this.
Real estate professional.
So now as we expand, now we get those benefits that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
And that is where the game changes, my friends.
Yeah.
That to me is something that when we first did the Sumrock course, I came out here and they did it online. And I was one of the guys that when we did that, we did a little lunch right there, and he said, "Hey, how's it going, everybody?" And man, the mic came around, and I didn't want to take it, but I was grabbing the mic. I was pissed. And I just said, "God, thanks for putting this together." I said, "But quite frankly, I'm pissed." And he says, "What are you pissed at?" And I said that I've been busting my ass. I'm the rich dentist, and you tell somebody you're a dentist, they think you're rich. Yeah. And I said, and that is not the case. I said, I'm talking to people for 2 days that all they're doing, or a day, or I think at that point, they go on vacation all the time and they're looking at properties. They're right, and I'm like, why am I working so damn hard? and they're not paying any tax. How the hell do you not pay tax? Like why has no one ever taught me this? Why has nobody ever taught Blaine this? So one of the things that we want to do, not only through the podcast, but just through getting out there into our profession, even as we retire, why can't we talk to these young dentists, man? My son is a first-year dental student down in Charleston.
Nice.
He's going to be joining my practice with my associate, Dr. Molly. I'm going to kind of slip away, and I'm still going to end up working a day or two a week. I love dentistry, man. It's not something
passion.
I ever see.
It's not work anymore. It's you just go and do your.
Yeah. When you make your vocation your vacation, that's when you right. Yeah. So at this stage, when they come in and I get to do the real estate and pop in and pop out, it's a different story. But my goal for them is to so they only have to work 10 years. If they wanted to retire in 10 years and do real estate only, or if they could retire at that time, awesome.
Sure.
Because then the profession takes on a whole new approach and a whole new look. And I'm trying to emphasize with these two, listen, they think I'm kidding. And I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. By the time you're in this 10 years, I know this doesn't make sense, but I want you to be able to look at yourselves and go, we could probably retire.
Yeah.
And it's challenging. It's challenging because, I'm also in healthcare, RN.
Yeah.
But I've been paused for 6 months. But when I was working around doctors, the nurses, other surgeons, right, I would tell them and I would let them know, like, hey, this is possible, right? I attended Brad Sumrock's event, learned the same thing. Sure. I pitched it to them, and I tried to make them realize. And even to now, like, I reach out to them, like, hey, you know what? Like, I stopped working for 6 months because I started pursuing this career, and they're like, there's no way. Like, how are you doing it? You have to be doing something else. They just don't grasp the idea that it's possible because we weren't taught that in school.
Right.
You go to school, you work, and making the transition to financial freedom, everybody wants it, but it's once you're working so many hours, it feels like a myth.
Yeah.
Right.
And some people in like y'all's profession don't even realize that they have a network of people who have a bunch of money, and they can form a group of, people and go pool and buy an apartment complex, and when he met me, he was in the healthcare industry, surgeons, anesthesiologists, doctors, these guys love, that's another thing. You tell someone, hey, have you ever thought about investing in real estate? Is that something you're curious about? Yeah. 97% of the population will say yes. Yeah. And so these doctors have told him that. And so he meets me and I tell him, hey, I'm raising for a deal, let's partner on the deal. Let's help us with, not only capital raising, but asset management and help us, with everything. And he was like, let's go, let's do it. And I was like, all right, well, make a list and call everyone that that has money. First people he called, doctors, surgeons, everyone. Within 3 weeks, 500,000 was raised.
Nice.
And I think people in that industry, in your industry and in your profession don't realize really who's around them. Yeah. and what they can do, right? OPM, other people's money, and really have some success with that. And so, I think it's beautiful what you guys are doing to share that wisdom, coming here out of state, flying in. I'm sure you guys have a gazillion other things, more important to be doing, but you guys are still here learning and, going back to your podcast and sharing this wisdom with others. I think that's beautiful. We need more people like that.
For sure.
I want to thank you guys for that. Giving back to the community.
I really looked at, the way when you were talking, like you started your dentistry and you took action. Like you were like, you know what? I'm just going to go at it, real estate. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but you tried it. Yeah. It said you learned.
I learned a ton.
Yeah. So
I learned what not to do.
Because
that was so important, right?
Yeah. And now it's made you a better investor. It's made you realize what you're looking for in a property when you're walking the property in San Antonio. So instead of waiting and not taking the action that you needed to, you put it on pause because you still had it in the back of your head, right? In the back of your mind. And now moving forward, you're a way better investor because you took that initial failure. And same thing with Matt. You took the action. You started the coffee shop. Unfortunately, it didn't end well. You lost all that money.
But you took action.
But you took action. And you made it possible. And you found ways to overcome that obstacle, to improve. And now you're here. Now you guys are making great chunks of money and will lead to financial freedom.
I like what Brad talks about as far as, if you don't want to fail, the only guarantee for not failing is just sitting on the sidelines. Don't do anything.
But there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah, there is. There's also risk there. That's right. It depends on how you want to look at it. But
3 things I'll leave you and listeners with.
Let's do it. Yeah.
One is everybody thinks that when you're standing there, everybody says you just got to take that first step. Well, first thing is that's bullshit. You take the one step, you still got one back and one forward. You still haven't gone anywhere, right? Yeah. It's the second step. Okay. And no one talks about the second step because the second step takes cojones sometimes to step up.
That's true.
You can straddle the line and go, I can go back, I can go forward. What am I going to do? It's the second step that means the most, right? Second thing I would tell you is that Cardone taught me this. Every time I go to a freaking Cardone event, we play this game. My wife and I and the kid, we take our 3 boys go with us every time that they can. And, the question goes around, what'd you learn? What'd you get? What'd you get from the course? What'd you get from that speaker? Who's your favorite speaker? Whatever it is. Comes back to me, and every time it's the same thing. I said, Grant says it probably within the first 10 minutes of him speaking. It hits me like a freaking brick. And it's very simple. It's play big. Play bigger. We're playing too small. Yeah. Our thinking is too small. Like when we suffer from this small thinking, and you've got to have huge think, right? So how do you out of the blue just come to a Brad Sumrock event and learn how to do real estate? Well, you don't. And which brings me to the third thing that Brad talks about, that Tony Robbins brought to him, and that is there's power in proximity. You have to present yourself in the position of greatest opportunity to be successful. And that's meeting people like you, that's meeting Brad, that's meeting other investors as you're out networking and stuff. Man, I remember the first time I was here, I came to the event. You know how Brad was talking about you hand out cards? Mm-hmm. I felt so overwhelmed, man. I came and everybody's like, hey, how you doing? You got a card? Yeah. And I just got cards thrown at me, and I'm looking at these cards going, I don't know who the hell these people are. Yeah. But what I paid attention to were those that were up on the stage talking, those that stayed back. There's a handful. There's probably 2 hands. There's a dozen investors in this room. Correct. And people that are leading the charge in GPs. I saw you talking to 2 of them before we came up, and they're friends.
Mike and Dan.
Yeah. So you're going to know the players because the players are out playing the game, and you'll see them sitting back. Yeah. The rest are handing cards out.
And they also won't talk to the people that are not really.
These guys aren't there, but they're the ones you keep an eye on. Correct. And I learned that really, really quick because
learn how to read the room.
Passing cards out is not the way to do it, but we're passing cards out for the podcast.
Yes, we are.
There you go.
We're not trying to sell it. We're like, hey, get on there and have some fun. See what it's like.
And now you're here thanks to that card.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, there we go.
Those would be 3 things I think. What about you?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I always go back to is thoughts, feelings, and actions have to align. And we talked about taking action. And a lot of people can think big, and you go through and people do these all morning. And they get up in the morning or whatever, and they think great thoughts and gratitude, which is great. But if you never get to the action part and you don't take the action, nothing's going to happen.
Correct.
And so you got to follow through on all 3 of those.
That's amazing.
Yeah, can't be afraid. You can't be afraid of failing.
Man, fail forward.
Yeah.
Fail forward. I love that.
That's it, brother. I mean, if you're going to fail forward.
Yeah, get back up. There you go. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk after this about some deals. Maybe we'll do a deal together.
Maybe we'll collaborate.
Yeah, 100%.
Sweet.
Let's go.
Thanks for having us.
100%. Yeah, cool.
Happy
Thanks,
trails,
y'all.
everybody.
Happy trails.